To save Ethan Lou, I got hit by a car and ended up in the ICU. I almost didn't wake up. With red-rimmed eyes, he swore he would give me a home. But the night before our engagement, his little junior from college, Emily, threw a tantrum. He abruptly canceled the engagement banquet and flew overnight on his private jet to chase after her to some island. He left me with nothing but a single sentence. "It's not safe for a young girl to be out alone." "Just an engagement," he said. "It could happen anytime." At a gathering, I overheard someone trying to talk sense into him. "Claire almost lost her life in that car accident saving you. Don't you think you're going too far?" He crushed his cigarette coldly and replied, "I wouldn't really call that saving me. She was severely depressed back then, probably wanted to die anyway. And besides, where else could a girl like her go after leaving the Lou family?" I clenched my phone in silence. Ethan didn't know that I had already agreed to my brother's arrangement. I would return to Harbor City for a political marriage. I was leaving tomorrow. From that moment on, we would become strangers living in different worlds, never to meet again. The night before our engagement, Emily threw another fit. She stormed out with her bag and posted a photo of a marriage certificate on social media with the caption, "That jerk pissed me off again. This time, don't even think about finding me." She had forgotten to turn off the live mode. An automated voice in the background clearly announced her flight details. Ethan panicked, canceled the engagement banquet again, and boarded his private jet in the middle of the night. It wasn't until he stepped onto the island where Emily had gone that he realized he hadn't even given me, his fiancée, a single word of explanation. He called me. Even thousands of miles apart, I could still hear the careless tone in his voice. "Claire, let's postpone the engagement for a bit." I didn't reply. His voice grew heavier, carrying the arrogance of someone too used to getting his way. "It's not safe for a girl to be out on her own. I have to bring her back. Don't make a fuss, you've always been the sensible one." I gripped my hand so tightly, my fingertips turned white. But when I finally spoke, my voice was flat and calm. "Ethan Lou?" I called him by his full name, something I rarely did. "This is the third time. Let's call off the engagement." Just then, a girl's playful voice interrupted from his end of the line. "Ethan, help me with my bag strap." "Be good." He paused. "It's just an engagement. We'll do it another day." The call ended abruptly. Outside, the moonlight flowed like water, spilling over the curtains and painting a cold sea across my desk. I picked up my phone and replied to a message I'd received 3 days ago. "Brother, I want to come to Harbor City." That night, I didn't sleep well. In my dreams, time turned back, and Ethan became the little boy who used to follow behind me, step by step. He stood on tiptoes to wipe sweat off my forehead, his voice still soft and childlike. "Claire, are you hot? I'll fan you." Next to the swing set in the Shen family garden, I swung my legs while eating candy, and Ethan crouched beside me, watching with big, eager eyes. The adults laughed and teased. "He likes Claire so much. Should we let her marry him when they grow up?" The little boy's ears instantly turned red, but he still mustered up the courage to grab my hand and say, "Okay. When we grow up, Claire will be my bride." The setting sun lit up his lashes with a golden edge. My small shadow landed right in the center of his amber eyes, like a treasure being carefully held. Later, our parents divorced. My mother took me with her, and my father took my brother far away to Harbor City. In high school, my mother went abroad for business. Her return flight crashed into the depths of the Pacific Ocean, and not even a single shred of her clothing was ever recovered. After the funeral, my father wanted to take me to live with him in Harbor City, but the shock left me severely depressed. I locked myself away in the old Shen family estate, refusing to leave. Death's greatest power doesn't lie in taking someone's life, but in making those left behind lose the will to keep living. Back then, I was plagued with sleepless nights. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mother's body dissolving into the air. First her fingers, then her face, and finally, even the sound of her voice scattered like the wind. When things reached their worst, I had climbed to the rooftop of an abandoned building. Just as I was about to jump, Ethan Lou rushed over and grabbed me tightly. He said I was just sick, and he would stay by my side as I got better. He took me to see a therapist, brought me to try all kinds of things he thought I might enjoy. And during those nights when I jolted awake in panic, he patiently told me silly fairy tales over and over again. He became the only guiding light in my chaotic world, the reason I didn't get completely lost in the darkness. So that day, when the out-of-control truck came barreling toward us, I pushed him away without hesitation. I spent half a month in the ICU. My legs were shattered beyond recognition, and I came close to never waking up again. It took a year of rehabilitation before I could walk normally. After the college entrance exams, Ethan lit fireworks for me all night. With teary eyes, he slipped a ring onto my middle finger and said, "Claire, once you graduate from college, we'll get officially engaged." But now, for someone else, he broke that promise as easily as if it had meant nothing at all. The vibration of my phone pulled me from my thoughts. It was a message from Sophia Song. "Claire, I really didn't know today was your engagement party." Ethan was way out of line. How could he treat a girl like that? I already gave him a good scolding. "We'll bring you back a gift to make it up to you, okay?" I almost laughed. My fiancé needed another woman to scold him on my behalf? I slid my finger across the screen and typed, "No need for a gift. Save the money, it can be my early wedding gift to you and Ethan." I hit send and immediately blocked both Ethan Liu and Sophia Song. Sophia was in the same year as me, a well-known beauty from the dance department. With her snow-white skin and striking red lips, she had a glow that turned heads wherever she went. Her fiery and impulsive personality made her like a wild rose with thorns. At a school celebration, she danced a piece that caught Ethan's eye, even though he had originally come to see my piano performance. Everyone knew how much he doted on her. This was already the third time he had broken a promise to me because of Sophia. The first was on my birthday. That day, she had a dance competition. While I sat alone making a wish in front of the dying flame of my birthday candle, he was posting on his social media. Didn't win the championship, but someone told me I'll always be number one in his heart. In the photo, I saw a familiar side profile, Ethan's long fingers gently placing a crystal tiara on her head. The dazzling blue gemstone at the top was the exact birthday gift he once promised to give me. The second time was on my mother's death anniversary. Sophia sprained her leg during martial arts training, and Ethan was frantic. "She's a dancer. Her legs are everything." He ran red lights all the way to the best orthopedic hospital, carrying her in his arms, while I stood alone in front of my mother's grave, drenched in the sudden rain. Cold raindrops mixed with the warm tears at the corners of my eyes and fell silently onto the icy tombstone. The third time, he canceled our engagement banquet just to coax her again. We'd been childhood sweethearts for 18 years, and he was so sure I would always wait for him. But this time, I was the one who didn't show up. I swiped upward on my screen. It was a reply from my brother. "Really, Claire? You finally come around? I've had a bad feeling about Ethan for a long time. Want me to set you up with someone from the Zhao family in Harbor City? The guy's solid, certified by your big bro. Guaranteed, or your money back." Ever since Ethan missed my birthday the first time, my brother had held a grudge against him. In every conversation, he would subtly bring up some eligible bachelor from Harbor City. I always smiled and changed the subject, but this time I hesitated and typed back, "Okay." Ethan and Sophia stayed on that island for half a month. On the day they came back to the city, he posted a photo dump on his social media, 9 pictures in a grid, each one showing their intimacy. They wore swimsuits while surfing at the beach, sat at the top of the Ferris wheel watching the night view, cuddled together at a bonfire party. None of the photos crossed the line completely, but each one was laced with suggestive undertones. Someone left a teasing comment under his post. "So Mr. Liu, is this the start of switching fiancés?" His reply was carelessly light. "The girl's hard to please. Had to make a proper memory to cheer her up." The custom ringtone I had set for him suddenly rang. After half a month of silence, Ethan Liu was finally calling me. His voice, as always, carried that lofty kind of tenderness, as if he were still looking down from a pedestal. "Tonight's my birthday dinner. I'll come pick you up." For a moment I was dazed before realizing today was his birthday. If it had been any other year, I would have already prepared his gift days in advance, just waiting for the right moment to give it to him at the party. "Don't bother," I said softly. "I'm busy. I won't make it." I wasn't lying. In the past 2 weeks without him, I really had been busy applying for a visa, packing my things, saying goodbye to friends. Tonight happened to be my farewell dinner, planned long ago with my closest friends. On the other end of the line, his breathing grew noticeably heavier. Claire Shen, do you have to be this unreasonable? Look at what happened. Being alone on an island is dangerous. And now you're seriously making this into a thing? He even brought a gift back for you. Keep this up, and our engagement won't be postponed. It'll be cancelled. Ethan Liu, I interrupted him gently. I bought a plane ticket to Harbor City. I'm leaving tomorrow. Let's call off the engagement. You've got to be kidding me, he scoffed. Claire, there's a limit to how far you can push this. Ever since your mother died, you haven't even dared step inside an airport, let alone board a plane. What are you even saying? I took a deep breath. After my mother died in a plane crash, I was diagnosed with severe PTSD. I couldn't board flights. I couldn't even go near an airport. The sound of a boarding announcement would send chills down my spine. Ethan had long assumed I used that as an excuse. What he didn't know was that while he and Sophia roamed the world without a care, complaining that traveling with me was too troublesome, I had been undergoing exposure therapy, just as my therapist recommended. Back then, I bought a plane ticket every single day. At first, all I could do was sit in the departure lounge, trembling as I listened to the roar of planes taking off and landing. Eventually, I managed to get through short domestic flights. Now, I was no longer afraid of being thousands of feet in the sky. Fine, he said impatiently before the call ended. Come yourself. Don't make me wait. I returned to my apartment. This apartment was a gift from Ethan on my 18th birthday. That day, he had blindfolded me and led me into the empty living room. His voice was unusually nervous as he said, Claire, I'm going to give you a home. Years passed, and I had filled every corner of that space with my own hands. I called a moving company to help pack up everything I owned and send it back to the old Shen family estate. On the coffee table sat a framed photo of Ethan and me, fireworks bursting behind us, two teenagers smiling shyly, brightly, their futures unwritten. My fingers trembled slightly as I took off the ring and placed it in front of the photo. The door clicked shut behind me. I walked out without looking back. Because of my personality, I never had many friends. For this farewell dinner, I invited only the 3 girls I'd shared a dorm with in college. They all knew I was flying to Harbor City and might never return. Our glasses clinked together. I raised mine and downed it in one gulp. As the alcohol slid down my throat, I suddenly remembered the first day of college. Ethan had done the same thing, lifted his glass and said to me, Claire, I'll always be by your side. Back then, I never imagined there would come a day I'd go to Harbor City alone, that I'd leave without even a proper goodbye between us. After the gathering, I went to the restroom. On my way back, I passed a private room and suddenly heard someone say my name. Is Claire not here yet? You think she's really mad at you, Ethan? The room went quiet for a beat. Then came a familiar male voice. Even if I borrowed 10 lives, I wouldn't dare. The door cracked open. Inside, Ethan lounged lazily on a leather sofa, a cigarette glowing between his fingers. Laughter burst out in the room. Man, only Ethan knows how to keep a woman in line. He had that little dance girl wrapped around his finger not long ago, and Claire didn't even say a word. Claire Shen's ice cold, Sophia Song's fiery. He had both the white rose and the red rose now. No wonder people said Ethan Liu was winning at life. Someone in the room tried to reason with him. Ethan, Claire nearly lost her life saving you back then. Don't you think you've gone too far? Ethan stubbed out his cigarette, expression cold and indifferent. It wasn't really saving me. She was deep in depression back then, practically suicidal. And even if she left the Liu family, where else would a girl like her go? His voice echoed in my mind like sudden thunder, shaking me so hard I couldn't move. During those 3 years of high school, I was seen as a freak by my classmates, withdrawn and isolated because of my depression. It was Ethan who led me out of the darkness, step by step. But he would never know that in that split second, when the truck came barreling toward us and I shoved him out of the way, I wasn't thinking about dying. I was thinking, if it's for you, I'm willing to die. I had seen him as my salvation, the one who rescued me from the abyss. I never imagined that one day my pain would be reduced to a cheap joke from his lips. The taste of blood filled my mouth. I stood there trembling from head to toe. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my brother. "Sorry, Claire, I really can't get away tomorrow, but I've arranged for someone from the Joe family to pick you up. See you in Harbor City." I wiped the corner of my eye and smiled faintly. "See you in Harbor City." Night fell. Inside the private room, the lights still shimmered like a dream, the mood fueled by alcohol. Ethan tilted his head back and downed a shot of strong liquor. His Adam's apple bobbed and his brows tightened. Claire Shen still hadn't shown up. In the past, she always sent him a birthday message right after midnight. She once said she wanted to be the first to wish him happy birthday. At his parties, she would prepare thoughtful gifts tailored to his taste. But now, he had stared at his phone the entire night, and the chat window remained blank. He knew she was mad about Sophia, which was why, swallowing his pride, he'd called her, to offer a way out for both of them. He never expected that Claire, always so gentle and soft-spoken, would actually mention breaking off the engagement over the phone. And say she was going to Harbor City. Ethan let out a cold laugh, then accidentally tipped his glass, spilling the contents across the table. "She doesn't even dare set foot in an airport," he muttered. "How's she gonna fly? It's just another game of playing hard to get." He was still certain Claire wouldn't leave him. She never had. He chose to ignore that faint thread of unease tugging at his gut. As time ticked by, Claire still didn't appear. Ethan's expression darkened further, his fingers tapping the table with increasing impatience. The atmosphere in the room seemed to cool with every beat of his knuckles. Then the sharp sound of high heels striking the marble floor echoed from the hallway, drawing closer and closer. The tense mood in the room eased slightly. "Claire's here, huh?" someone joked, trying to break the ice. "Told you she wouldn't really get mad at Ethan. She's super late. Must be because she knows Ethan will always forgive her." Another chimed in with a laugh. Amid the teasing, Ethan tugged at the collar of his shirt and sneered, "Looks like I've spoiled her too much." Though his face was cold, a barely concealed glint of satisfaction played at the corners of his mouth. He was already certain the person outside was Claire. But he'd forgotten one thing. After the accident, Claire's legs had been shattered. It had taken a full year of rehab before she could even walk properly again. The doctor had said she would never be able to wear heels for the rest of her life. The door opened and Sophia Song walked in, teetering on 10-centimeter stilettos before throwing herself into Ethan's arms. "Happy birthday, Ethan? You?" Ethan frowned. Sophia's smile stiffened for a moment, but she quickly recovered, pressing herself closer. "Of course it's me. Who else would it be?" With a flourish, she pulled out a box from behind her back. "Look, I had these custom-made matching rings in a case." She popped open the box and eagerly grabbed his hand. "Come on, try it." Her long nails traced over the back of his hand and pinched the ring on his middle finger. Only then did Ethan suddenly snap back to his senses. Ethan suddenly shoved Sophia away, his tone sharp and impatient. "Who told you to touch my ring?" "Ethan." Sophia stumbled back onto the sofa, looking at him in disbelief. Her makeup was done to perfection today, and her crimson velvet mini dress flaunted her beauty with boldness and flair. She looked stunning, but completely different from Claire's quiet elegance. It was that bold, untamed charm on stage that had first caught Ethan's eye. But now, the red rose that once burned so brightly suddenly looked like a splatter of mosquito blood. Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose, clearly irritated. "Your gift is nice, but don't bring anything next time. You know this already. Claire's the only one who will ever be my fiancé. Aside from that, I can give you anything else you want." Sophia bit her lip, unwilling to give in. "But I just ran into Claire's roommates. They said she's going to Harbor City. She might never come back." "Ethan, she's the one walking away from you. Wouldn't it be better if it was just you and me?" It was rare to see the proud and dazzling Sophia looking so vulnerable. But it didn't move Ethan at all. He shot her a cold glance. "Don't say things like that. Claire would never go to Harbor City." He pulled out a cigarette, lit it with a flick of his thumb. After being childhood sweethearts with Claire for so many years, he thought he knew better than anyone how much she loved him. Loved him so much that even after he missed her birthday, ignored her grief, stood her up, and put Sophia first again and again, she still wouldn't leave him. Maybe she was just upset after that half-month trip he took with Sophia, since he hadn't messaged her the entire time. That was probably why she was still holding a grudge and didn't come to his birthday party. Surrounded by drifting smoke, Ethan gave a small, confident laugh. Fine, I'll coax her myself. He picked up his phone and dialed the number he had long since memorized, but all he heard was the cold, mechanical voice of the automated system. We're sorry, the number you have dialed is no longer in service. Though my PTSD had improved greatly after 6 months of desensitization therapy, I still couldn't help the lingering panic that hit me every time the plane prepared for takeoff. My chest tightened. Excuse me. A calm, low male voice came from beside me. I looked up and saw a man standing in the aisle, wearing a crisp white dress shirt. Behind his gold-rimmed glasses were features that were refined, almost picturesque. His eyes lingered on my face with a look that seemed to hold meaning. Claire Shen, he said, pronouncing my name with precision. The lilt at the end of his tone made it sound like he was confirming something he already knew. You are? I looked at him, confused. I was certain I had never seen this man before. He curved his lips slightly. First time meeting. My name's Andrew Zhao, from the Zhou family in Harbor City. I'm here to pick you up. Everything suddenly clicked. So this was the contact my brother had mentioned, the one he kept praising. Should I say he had good taste? Having Andrew pick me up apparently meant from the moment the plane took off. Andrew sat down beside me. He was tall, and when he stretched out his long legs wrapped in tailored slacks, they practically filled all the space in front of the seat. I couldn't help but feel a little nervous, gripping the edge of my seatbelt. Is this your first time going to Harbor City, Miss Shen? He asked suddenly, his voice soft and warm. Sunlight filtered through the window, breaking the strange tension that had filled the cabin. I relaxed a little, nodding lightly. Andrew looked at me with a gentle glint in his eyes. Would you like a guide? If Andrew Zhao ever became a tour guide, he'd probably make a fortune, I thought idly. He began describing the night view of Victoria Harbor, the sunset from the peak, the traditional tea stalls in Sham Shui Po, and the seafood feasts on Llama Island. His deep, soothing voice unfolded like a story, and I found myself completely immersed. But just then, the plane suddenly jolted, like a paper kite swept into a storm. The captain's calm voice came over the speaker, but all I could hear was the rush of blood pounding in my ears. The air felt like it had been sucked out of the cabin. I gripped the armrests with all my strength. My fingernails dug deep into my palms. For a brief second, I saw my mother's figure again, the memory so vivid it swallowed everything else. My breathing turned shallow and rushed. Darkness began to close in around the edges of my vision. Breathe. Andrew Zhao's response was fast, shockingly fast. In a flash, he tore open the emergency oxygen bag and cupped it gently over my nose and mouth. His other hand pressed steadily against my trembling back. Breathe with me, he said in a calm, steady voice, his tone like some kind of tranquilizer, smoothing out my panic. I tried to match my breaths to his, slowly, rhythmically, until my heartbeat settled and the tightness in my chest eased. The plane eventually broke free of the turbulence and steadied. Only then did Andrew remove the bag. He asked the flight attendant for a cup of water, and seeing my fingers still slightly trembling, he held the cup and helped me take a sip. The warmth of the water washed away the edge of my panic. As the reality of what just happened sank in, I began to feel a bit embarrassed. Thank you. I'm really sorry. I overreacted. I must have scared you. It's okay, Miss Shen, he said as he handed the cup back, lifting an eyebrow slightly in a casual gesture. Being able to take care of travelers' well-being is a basic requirement of any qualified guide. So what do you say? Will you hire me? I couldn't help but laugh softly. Just call me Claire. And thanks in advance for the trouble. The plane soared through the clouds and suddenly, a rainbow appeared outside the window. Andrew turned his head toward me, a gentle smile on his face. Look, Claire, he said. Harbor City is welcoming you. I followed Andrew Zhao into the parking lot. A sleek black Bentley sat parked near the entrance. The driver opened the door, but when he saw me getting in along with Andrew, a flicker of surprise flashed across his face. To the Shen residence, Andrew said calmly. The car moved smoothly through the city. A faint scent of sandalwood lingered inside, subtle and soothing, putting me unexpectedly at ease. I leaned back in the seat as drowsiness gradually overcame me. When I awoke, I heard Andrew taking a call. His voice was low, almost gentle, but there was a commanding force beneath it that couldn't be ignored, an effortless aura of authority. I didn't say anything. I simply watched his sharp profile, admiring the clean, elegant lines of his face. I couldn't help but think, sometimes, God really isn't fair. "What's on your mind, Claire?" Andrew's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. "Nothing," I replied instinctively. But then I suddenly remembered what my brother had said about this arranged marriage, and before I could stop myself, I added, "You were very charming just now." On the phone, the man who had been so composed a moment ago suddenly flushed, his Adam's apple bobbing awkwardly. "Thank you." Before I got out of the car, we exchanged contact information. "See you tomorrow," he said. I smiled faintly as I adjusted my phone and watched the car pull away. Just as I was about to call my brother to ask for the gate code, my phone buzzed. "Claire, are you out of the terminal yet? Has that Zhao kid still not picked you up?" I frowned in confusion. "I'm already at the front door. Also, who's Zhou Jiaming?" There was a pause on the other end. "Zhou Jiaming is the guy I arranged to pick you up. I've just been too busy to tell you his name." "Why?" I blinked and hesitantly asked, "Are you sure he doesn't go by another name? Like Andrew Zhou?" What followed was a sharp intake of breath. My brother's voice came back, panicked. "Andrew Zhou? As in the head of the Zhou family? How do you even know someone like that?" 20 minutes later, my brother rushed home from the office, clearly flustered. I was sitting quietly on the sofa when he arrived. The villa was decorated with framed landscape photos, definitely my father's work. He was a photographer, always chasing the next great image, probably somewhere in Africa right now, photographing wildlife. It wasn't that he didn't love us, he just loved his dreams a little more. "Claire, are you okay?" My brother asked as he gripped my shoulders anxiously, practically checking me from head to toe. His voice shook. "I'm so sorry, I forgot to tell you the guy's name. If something had happened." I looked at him, my voice calm. "I'm fine. Nothing happened. Otherwise, I really would have regretted it for the rest of my life." "It's okay," I said softly, gently wrapping my fingers around my brother's trembling wrist. I should have asked more clearly. My brother took a deep breath, calming himself a little, then looked at me curiously. "But how do you even know Andrew Zhao?" I felt a flicker of guilt. "He just happened to be sitting next to me on the flight. I thought he was the guy you arranged for the marriage meeting, didn't realize it was a total mix-up." "Claire." My brother's tone grew serious. "Andrew Zhou isn't just anyone, he's the actual head of the Zhou family. People in our circle say he's cold, arrogant, and never shows interest in women." "Cold and arrogant?" I thought of how Andrew's ears had flushed pink earlier. That didn't quite match up. Before I could dwell on it, my brother cut into my thoughts sternly. "Just try not to get too involved with him." But I hesitantly raised my phone. I kind of already agreed to see the Victoria Harbor night view with him tomorrow. After sitting through a full lecture on personal safety from my brother, I collapsed on the bed and let out a long, tired sigh. I unlocked my phone, and as soon as I opened WeChat, messages from Ethan Liu came pouring in like a flood. "Claire Shen, where the hell did you go? You're deliberately ignoring my calls. You skipped my birthday party, and now you've even emptied the apartment. What's with leaving the ring behind? What are you trying to say?" Before I could even finish reading, an incoming voice call popped up on my screen. My finger froze for a second, then I answered. Ethan's furious voice exploded through the quiet room. "Claire Shen, you actually blocked me?" Before leaving, I had canceled my old number and switched to a Harbor City SIM card. Still, his call reminded me I needed to block him on WeChat too. On the other end, Ethan was still ranting. "So I didn't contact you for 2 weeks, since when are you so petty? I told you, nothing's going on between me and Sophia, and the engagement wasn't canceled, it was just postponed. Do you even want to be with me or not?" "Ethan," I said quietly, cutting him off, "I already told you, our engagement is off. We're not going to see each other again." Outside, the rain had started falling, soft and steady against the window. I didn't wait for his reply. I hung up the call, tapped his profile, and blocked him. Before I realized it, I had already been living in Harbor City for over a month. My brother was busy managing his startup company, so most of the time, it was Andrew Zhao who kept me company. I thought things would be awkward after the misunderstanding on the flight, but they weren't at all. Andrew was a man who understood boundaries. He spoke with clarity and tact, always respectful, always calm. I found myself genuinely comfortable around him. Because of the accident and the long rehabilitation in high school, I had chosen public health as my major in college. In my junior year, I'd been preparing for grad school, hoping to work in the medical devices industry someday. But Ethan hadn't supported it. He told me the Liu family didn't need a daughter-in-law who spent her days tinkering with machines. Why not just stay home, drink tea, and arrange flowers? What's wrong with being a pampered wife? I hadn't had the strength to go against him, so I gave up on my dream. But Andrew was different. When he found out I'd once planned to pursue graduate studies, he encouraged me. If it's something you want, why not give it a shot? That gentle encouragement struck something deep inside me and firmed my resolve. So I started gathering application materials, determined to apply for a master's degree at the University of Hong Kong. Andrew helped me organize a mountain of academic texts, introduced me to respected professors in the field, and even accompanied me to academic dinners. After one of those meetings, we walked together down Queen's Road. The neon lights flickered above us, and people bustled by on all sides. But in my eyes, there was only him, tall and calm, walking beside me. "Andrew Zhou," I called softly. He turned his head slightly, his gaze warm and steady as it met mine. My heart skipped a beat. "Thank you," I said, cheeks burning. I quickly looked away, unable to hold his gaze. He chuckled gently, his voice low and soft. The soft scent of sandalwood drifted closer. "I heard Mr. Shen originally intended to match you with Jia Ming," Andrew said lightly. "But have you considered changing to someone a bit more suitable? Like me?" Even after we got home, I still felt a bit dazed. His words echoed in my ears. "Claire, I meant what I said. I like you. I hope you'll give me a chance." Since I'd agreed to my brother's proposal for an arranged match, I'd already mentally prepared myself for it. And honestly, Andrew Zhao was a better match than I could have hoped for. Born into a prestigious family, exceptionally capable, and more importantly, he'd consistently helped me become a better version of myself. Precisely because of that, I didn't want to waste something so sincere. After wrestling with it for days, I finally decided to tell him the truth about my past with Ethan Liu. "I can promise you, I've let that relationship go," I said. "But if you still mind it..." My voice trailed off, and I looked down, speaking quietly. "That's okay too." Suddenly, a warm hand rested gently on the crown of my head. His palm was dry and comforting, radiating strength and reassurance. "Claire," he said, leaning slightly toward me. His eyes were soft but unwavering. "There's nothing wrong with loving someone. What's even more admirable is knowing when to let go. That kind of courage makes me like you even more." My throat tightened unexpectedly. Andrew smiled and reached his hand toward me. "Then let's start over. Nice to meet you, fiancé." When my brother learned that Andrew and I were officially together, his expression was complicated. After a long silence, he simply said, "As long as you're happy, Claire, I'll always be your support." But from that day on, he began spending more and more nights at the office. Not long after, Andrew brought me to meet his parents. They welcomed me warmly and gave me generous gifts. Among them, the most precious was a jade bracelet, glossy, vibrant, and flawless. It was a family heirloom, passed down only to the wives of the Zhou family heads. I was still hesitating when Andrew took my hand and gently but firmly slipped the bracelet onto my wrist. "Claire," he said with a quiet smile, "this will only ever belong to you." Our wedding date was set for 6 months later. Since I planned to continue my studies, we kept the news low-key. Within elite circles, people knew that the head of the Zhou family was engaged, but no one knew who the bride-to-be was. That night, Andrew, who rarely ever posted on social media, suddenly shared a photo. It was a close-up of 2 hands, fingers interlocked. A sparkling pink diamond ring sat elegantly on my middle finger. The caption read simply, "Mine." Feeling moved, I posted the same photo on my own feed. Old classmates flooded the comments. "Engaged? Congratulations. Looks like you're in Harbor City now. Don't forget us when you visit home." Our goddess is getting married and I'm still single. Smiling, I replied to each one. But then, unexpectedly, one of Ethan's mutual friends called me. Claire, is it true you're engaged? What about Ethan? My smile faded. I ended things with Ethan a long time ago, I replied. I've started a new life now. I'd appreciate it if you don't bring him up again. Suddenly, the other end of the call erupted in drunken shouting. It was Ethan's voice, slurred and angry. Claire Shen. You really had the guts to run off to Harbor City and hook up with some other guy just to spite me? Fine, I admit it worked. Now come back. Otherwise, the spot for Liu family's daughter-in-law will officially go to someone else. I drew a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm despite the wave of emotion crashing inside me. How many times do I have to say it? I said through clenched teeth. We're over. Stop interfering with my life. Your life, he barked. You're my fiancé. Without me, where exactly do you think you're going to live? I'm warning you, he continued. Come back to Haicheng within a week, or else. I couldn't listen anymore. My patience finally snapped. I hung up and blocked his number. Back in his private suite, silence fell like a stone. Bookmark. Ethan Liu stared at the phone screen where the call had been cut off. The eyes that had always seemed flirtatious and full of charm were now bloodshot, a faint touch of golden frustration buried within them, too subtle for most to notice. 3 days later, I returned briefly to Haicheng. I hadn't expected to continue my studies in Harbor City, so I'd left behind some important documents. Coincidentally, Andrew Zhou had business to attend to at his company's Haicheng branch. So we traveled back together. Unlike the turbulence the day I left, this flight was smooth. Andrew held my hand as we exited the VIP terminal. We didn't return to the old Shen estate. I had no desire to risk running into Ethan again, so we stayed at a hotel instead. The next morning, Andrew left early for his meetings. I took the opportunity to return to the Shen family home, gather my documents, and return to the hotel. Our flight back to Harbor City was scheduled for the day after tomorrow, but tomorrow night, Andrew had a business dinner and needed me to attend as his +1. He arranged for an entire room of dresses, shoes, and jewelry to be delivered to our suite. I chose a deep violet gown. It was the same color my mother wore on the day she left this world, and since then, I'd never worn violet again. But old wounds had finally healed, and I was ready to walk into my own future. After getting dressed and styled, I received a message from Andrew. The driver's on the way. I'll wait for you in the banquet hall. I never expected to run into Ethan in the hotel lobby. He wore a tailored suit, and Sophia clung tightly to his arm. The moment our eyes met, Ethan abruptly shook her off and strode toward me with long, determined steps. His expression was a mess of emotions, shock, delight, and something like embarrassed anger. I knew you'd come, he said smugly, raising his brow. You look beautiful tonight. Come, I'll take you upstairs. I didn't move. Instead, I lowered my eyes and sent a quick text. Ethan's mouth tightened. He reached out to take my hand, but I stepped back to avoid him. His face darkened instantly. Claire Shen, what's the meaning of this? You already came back. Why are you still acting like this? Are you mad at me, Claire? Sophia walked over at some point, her tone soft and seemingly sincere. Please don't misunderstand. There's really nothing between Ethan and me. A flicker of realization passed through Ethan's eyes. Claire, you're being too sensitive again. If you hadn't run off to Harbor City, I wouldn't have brought Sophia as my date. Fine, I won't see her anymore, okay? He ignored the look of shock on Sophia's face and tried once more to grab my hand. That was it. I couldn't hold it in anymore. My hand flew across his face with a sharp, unforgiving slap. Every word I spoke afterward landed like a blow. Don't you understand plain English? Stop interfering with my life. Just then, the elevator doors slid open. Andrew Zhou stepped out calmly, several people trailing behind him. Among them was none other than Ethan's father, the current head of the Liu family. Mr. Liu's gaze swept the room. His eyes narrowed slightly as he took in the scene, then shifted to me with a faint look of disapproval. Smiling thinly, he walked forward. Mr. Zhou, I'm sorry for this. It's just some silly personal matter with my son. It'll be handled shortly. He then turned to Ethan, giving him a look heavy with warning. Well, aren't you going to take Claire with you? Wait. Andrew suddenly spoke up, stepping to my side. His slender fingers gently adjusted a crooked hair accessory on my head. "And where exactly does Mr. Liu plan to take my fiancée?" Silence crashed over the entire lobby like a thunderclap. Ethan raised his face, still red from the slap, and stared at me in disbelief. "What are you talking about? Claire Shen is my fiancée." His voice was shaking with fury, but when his father turned toward him, his expression cold and unreadable, Ethan fell silent. "Please," Andrew said politely, taking my hand and leading me into the elevator. "We won't interrupt Mr. Liu while he's handling his family matters." Just before the elevator doors closed, Andrew turned back slightly. "Oh, and regarding the Liu family partnership," he added with a pleasant smile, "let's wait until your family affairs are properly handled, then we'll talk." Inside the closed elevator, the scent of sandalwood grew stronger. "Does it hurt?" Andrew asked, referring to the hand I had just used to slap Ethan. I shook my head gently, feeling a bit self-conscious. "Did I cause trouble for you just now? Will it affect your work?" Andrew gently squeezed my fingertips. "You're my fiancé. No work is more important than you. And besides, someone like Ethan Liu deserves to be put in his place when he treats you like that." Only then did I realize this had been his real reason for coming to Haicheng with me. The banquet that followed went smoothly. Andrew had finalized the partnership well in advance. Before returning to Harbor City, we stopped by the cemetery together. Standing in front of my mother's grave, Andrew bowed respectfully. "Ma'am," he said sincerely, "I'll take good care of Claire." His voice remained steady. "She's remarkable. She's going to pursue graduate school and work in cutting-edge medical device research. She'll probably stay up late working and work very hard." He paused, then looked at me with a warm smile. "But you don't need to worry. I'll be the cloud that lifts her, never the one that blocks her light." A gentle breeze brushed past, teasing the ends of my hair. It felt like my mother's soft hand passing over me. Half a year flew by in the blink of an eye. The day before the wedding, Andrew and I returned to the old house. While he went to the study to grab something, I followed behind, curiously looking around the room. On the desk was a framed photo, Andrew, with a shaved head and pale face, wearing a loose hospital gown. Though his complexion was weak, his eyes were resolute. "This person." I pointed to a blurred figure in the background. "That looks like me, doesn't it?" Andrew stepped behind me, placing his hands on the desk, subtly enclosing me in his arms. "I had a brain tumor once," he said softly. "The neurosurgery department at Haicheng Central Hospital is one of the best. My family brought me there for surgery." Haicheng Central Hospital. Realization struck me. That was the same hospital where I'd received treatment after the accident. I hadn't expected we had crossed paths so early on. "What a coincidence," I murmured. "It's a shame we didn't know each other back then." "We kind of did," Andrew said with a faint smile, pointing at the corner of the photo. "That was my hospital room. From the window, I could see you in the passenger seat." At 18, Andrew Zhou had just been accepted into one of the top universities. He was full of pride and promise, a true star among his peers. Yet he had found himself confined to a small hospital room. Chemotherapy was grueling, and the surgery had only a 60% success rate. He almost gave up several times. But then, one day, from his hospital window, he saw a girl, quiet and delicate, but with a fiercely determined spirit. Through the glass, he watched as she fell again and again, only to keep getting back up, until she could finally walk again without help. He told himself to hold on a little longer, so he could see her again the next day. Before his surgery, he asked around and learned her name, Claire Shen. And he thought, if I survive this, maybe I can get to know her someday. He did survive. But by the time he was discharged, he saw that same girl leap joyfully into another man's arms. Still, fate had brought her back to him, eventually. A soft kiss landed near my ear, and Andrew's voice came with a smile. "So Claire, before you even knew it, I already knew you." I thought I would be nervous on our wedding day, but when I saw the man waiting at the altar, my heart, which had been racing all morning, suddenly became still and calm. My father held my hand, leading me, step by step, toward Andrew Zhou. The guests below watched us with warm smiles, their eyes full of blessings. Under the solemn voice of the officiating priest, we kissed and embraced, promising forever to each other. After the ceremony, I held on to Andrew Joe's arm as we made our way to change clothes. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of a familiar figure being surrounded by security, looking completely defeated. His face was ashen, but the moment he saw me, his eyes lit up. "Claire, come with me," Ethan called out desperately. "I love you. I've always loved you. I'll never hurt you again. Please, I'm begging you, forgive me." I didn't say a word. I just looked away. And as Ethan's cries echoed hopelessly behind me, I turned and walked off. A long time passed after that, and I didn't hear anything about Ethan Lu again. Until one day, Lumu called me. The woman who had always been so commanding now sounded strangely choked with emotion. "Claire, Ethan's been in a car accident," she said, her voice trembling. "The doctors say he'll never walk again. Can you come see him?" I was stunned. She continued speaking. "Ever since Andrew Zhou cut off all business ties with the Lu family, Ethan's family banned him from coming near you again. He snuck away to your wedding that day. He was dragged back to Haicheng by force. After that, he started drinking every day. Then one night, drunk, he ended up in bed with Sophia. He didn't want to take responsibility, but she had secretly taken photos. The family forced him to marry her. After they got married, Ethan never came home. Sophia couldn't take the emotional abuse and constantly picked fights. One night, on their way home, they were arguing again. Neither of them noticed the light had turned red. This time, no one pushed him out of the way. Ethan was hit and critically injured. He'll be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Sophia's injuries weren't as bad, but she'll never dance again. "I know," she added. "Ethan wronged you. But after all, you two grew up together. Doesn't that count for something?" "Ma'am," I interrupted her calmly. "Back then, when you told me a girl like me wasn't good enough for the Lu family, you didn't mention anything about childhood friendship. And besides, whatever bond we once had, it's long gone." Just as I hung up the phone, Andrew stepped into the room, holding a document envelope. I took it from him and opened it. Inside was my official acceptance letter to the University of Hong Kong's graduate program. "Congratulations, Claire," he said with a warm smile. Overjoyed, I threw my arms around him and jumped into his embrace. The road ahead is long, but I'm ready now, ready to journey through mountains and seas, side by side with the one in front of me. The end. Good night.